Hi friends, this is Chandrasekhar. Now you might be surprised why I am putting up a beard, but that is because my grandson wants me to grow a beard. He wanted to see how I look in that. I used to do that when I was very young. Now I normally prefer to be clean shaven. So this is just to humor him. This is not a new avatar of mine. Maybe after one or two lectures you will find me clean shaven as you have always seen me. This time we shall be talking about the seventh link in the chain of lectures on yogas. Yogas, as I always say, are empirical formulas. Take them, understand why the results are attributed to the yogas before going for just jumping that because a yoga is said this has to happen because other planets will also have their play. So we will try to understand the reason behind the results which are attributed to the yoga. This is how we have been working about yoga, the Gajapasari yoga and others also. We have seen the same pattern. So I am sure you will understand me. I try to give the shloka down below. I think you might like it. I'll give it in Devanagari and with the I shall try to give the transliteration below in Latin. So not Latin language, Latin script. So what is Kusuma Yoga? We are looking at Kusuma Yoga. Kusum means a flower. Flower grows gradually and remains for some time. Then of course every flower has to drop, as a human being also has to go away from this world. Flower also has to drop. But the Kusum has that meaning, that it grows slowly, steadily. When you have seen a flower coming up out of a seed, then the plant grows and so on, and when the flower actually comes to its full majesty, it takes time. So the name may also be connected with indicating that this is a slow and steady growth that could happen, but I am not sure about it. This is my understanding. So what is the yoga? It is said lagne sthire. That means the ascendant has to be a fixed rashi. Bhṛgau kendre. Bhṛgau is the name of Venus. So Venus has to be in the one of the four kendras, one of the four squares. Cendre, koṇe, śubhānvite. Along with that, moon has to be in a trine, conjunct benefic. Mānasthānagate saure. Saure means Saturn. Saturn has to be placed in the 10th house. So we see that two kendras are occupied anyway. And then what happens? Yogo'yaṁ kusumābhidhaḥ. This yoga is called as the Kusuma Yoga. Abhidhe is its nomenclature is Kusuma. What are the results? Bhūpo va bhūpatulyau va. Either the person is king or he is akin to king. Now king, as we have always talked about, is about authority and wealth. So what sort of a person he will be? Whether he is king or akin to king, which means wealthy, powerful, whatever. So what will be the result of this yoga? Then it is said that dātā bhogī, sukhī janaḥ. He will be spending much on donations. He will be happy. He will enjoy all the worldly goods or pleasures. And kulamukhyo. He will be the most important person in his clan. Obviously, if he has risen to be a king or somebody who is akin to king, then naturally he would be the most important person in his clan, isn't it? Which could also suggest that this person grows with a lot of efforts from a slightly not that high a stage in life when he was born. Understand that Saturn is there in the 10th house. Saturn has a habit of making one work very hard. So perhaps he is a hard worker. Then guṇī, he has great qualities, and vidvān. Vidvān is a wise person, a learned person, and such person is born when Kusuma Yoga is operating in his natal chart. So we see there are three conditions which are important. First is the lagna has to be sthire, that is fixed ascendant. So it can be only 2, 5, 8 or 11 Rashis I am saying, that is Taurus, Leo, Scorpio or Aquarius. Now, moon has to be either in the 5th house or in the 9th house. Trikona. Conjunct benefic. Now, what can that benefic be? So, we are aware that there are 4 benefics. Of course, 2 are part-time benefics. The part-time benefics are Moon and Mercury. Full-time benefics are Jupiter and Venus. Venus is already occupying the kendre, so he cannot be in the trines. So he is out. Moon himself is occupying the trine, so he is very much there. The only 2 left are Jupiter, who is a full-time benefic as I call him, and there is Mercury. Now Mercury can be there if Venus occupies either the 4th house or the 10th house. Otherwise, Mercury would not be in the trines. This one has to understand, because Mercury cannot be away more than 28 degrees away from Sun. And if Venus is also near Sun within 45 degrees, so it will be a very rare case where if Venus is in the lagna, of course if he is in ascendant, I mean Mercury cannot occupy the 5th or the 9th house. If he is in the 7th, it will be a very rare case that Mercury might be in the 9th or the 5th house. That I. So what is so great about it? Now we look at the possible lagna. If it is, say, Taurus lagna, Taurus ascendant, then Venus becomes Lord of the lagna itself, and Saturn is the yoga karaka, the Lord of the 5th, Lord of the 9th and the 10th bhava. And Lord of the 9th and 10th, placed in the 10th house, giving a great Shasha Mahapurusha Yoga. Lagna Lord occupying lagna, giving the strengthening the lagna, because any Lord occupying his own house becomes strong, or aspecting his own house becomes strong, strengthens the house, so he will have confidence. Jupiter from either 5th or the 9th would obviously aspect the lagna, the ascendant. I need not tell that, but they will and strengthen it. But it would also aspect the 11th house or the 3rd house, depending on whether the placement is in the 5th house or the 9th house. Jupiter's aspect, or even Mercury's aspect, in that rare case when Mercury would be in the 5th or 9th house, both these planets, they have the capacity to strengthen a bhava by their aspect. So if your valor is strengthened, or if your house of income or profits is strengthened, obviously you will earn much. And what is said is bhūpo va bhūpatulyau. That is, bhūpo means, bhū means earth, and bhūpa means Lord of the earth, which is king, which is a designation for king, or near about of the same level as king, means he has lot of power, lot of wealth. That is an indicator of a king. So we can see that one has self-confidence, one can earn more, and then also one has a fair amount of valor. Naturally, that person has to grow to a great length. What happens if the ascendant is, say, Leo? Then Saturn, being Lord of the 7th and the 6th, will occupy the 10th house, which happens to be house of his friend. So he gains strength. That is house of Venus. Venus in any of these places, barring the fourth of course, will be connected with Saturn. Even when he is in the 8th Rashi, that is Scorpio, he will be aspected by Saturn. So that combination of Venus and Saturn will always be there. And remember, Venus and Saturn are bosom friends, because if one is Lagna, the other one is always a yoga karaka for other. So when you treat, the 10th house to be Taurus Rashi in case of Leo, then from the 10th bhava, Saturn becomes again the yoga karaka for the 10th bhava. Remember, for the 10th bhava, not for the lagna itself. And in such case, we see that either or Saturn, Venus can occupy the 4th house, he will aspect his own house, the 10th house. Again, ultimately one has to work hard. Saturn is in the 10th house. Working hard is one of the requirement of going ahead in life. So we see that the strength either gains or increases because of these placements. Sometimes you will find in certain lagna, because there are only 4 fixed lagnas, Jupiter will be aspecting either his own house or be placed in his house, or will be aspecting his house of exaltation. When such is the case, and Venus is also perhaps in his own house or in the house of Saturn or with Saturn, then the intensity of the yoga will be more. That is why the differentiation is made. The sage doesn't say he will always be king. He will either be king or almost having the similar say authority and wealth as a king. This is very important. Now Jupiter aspecting the 9th or from 9th aspecting the 5th will naturally make that person a learned person. Because 5th from 5th, you understand that, we have gone through all these lectures. When you have come to this lecture, and if it is in serial order, you will understand what I am saying. So he will be an intelligent person. There is no problem about it. Venus loves spending. Saturn in the 10th will always make a person spend much. Venus spends on the things which are exotic, things which are enjoying. He knows how to enjoy life. So the word used is bhogī. Bhoga means enjoyment. Enjoyment of what? The worldly pleasures, you can say. Not in a bad sense, because people generally, the moment somebody says pleasure and Venus, then we always think about, being too libidinous or something like that. It is not necessary. It would depend on planets, and with Jupiter there, perhaps, especially if he is in the 5th house aspecting the 9th, then that possibility is almost minimal. If occupying 9th, it might be there, but we are not certain. And let us not go into it, because then other planets also come into picture. So this is the great Kusuma Yoga. The point which is generally missed is we look only at Venus in Kendra and Saturn in the 10th house, and it is obvious that they are always, whichever house they own, the 4th and 5th from it, or the 10th and 11th from that house, the house owned by Venus or Saturn, would always be yoga karaka. Would always be owned by Saturn or Venus. So their interaction is certain. And 2 of the kendras in sthire rashis are owned by Venus or Saturn. Or in case of other sthire rashis, when they are ascendants, then they will own either the 7th house or the 4th house. So whichever you go, where you go, the kendras will always be strengthened because of the position of Saturn. The relative position of Saturn and Venus, and in trine if moon with Jupiter is there. Obviously it will also be a Gajakesari Yoga, about which we talked in the last lecture, if I remember right. So that strength is there. Moon indicates changeable nature, isn't it? So income may vary, his valor would be changeable. That would not change, and that part will still remain. Yet, since moon is strong, as we have seen, because generally he will be away from sun, so he would have gained strength. Especially, so what happens is, say if this is a Taurus lagna, then obviously moon will be 5 houses away from sun, 99%, or 4 houses away, depending on position of sun, but he would not be much away from Venus. So he would have strength. Since moon has strength and he is with the great Jupiter, the strength will be enhanced. Any planet going with moon gets strength. It is called samagama, and such planets aspecting the 9th or the 11th or the 3rd are bound to give good results. But will that happen in all lagnas? Will the intensity be the same? It would not be. It's very obvious. In some cases, Jupiter will occupy his own house. In some cases, rare cases, when he is in the, say, 4th house for Taurus, then there is a possibility of Mercury occupying the 5th house, which is his sign of exaltation, and then he will be aspecting 11th. So these factors have to be understood. I would go more with either Venus owned Kendra, that is Taurus, or Saturn owned Kendra, which is the Aquarius, giving much powerful results than the other two sthire Rashis. Rashis being sthire, it is obvious that this person will, once having taken a work, he will complete it. He will be on the go. Saturn in the 10th will tell that he will have to work hard. Saturn is hard worker. He gives results slowly. So perhaps he would attain all these attributes of being king or like a king or being wealthy a bit later in the life. 10th house also is a possibility. He might be away from his motherland. But that is a possibility, because see, there the placement of planets. If Jupiter is with moon and if Mercury is with moon and Jupiter is in the 4th house, then the complexion would change. Or Jupiter is in the 2nd house aspecting Saturn in the 10th, then the complexion would change. Then that person might not need to move outside. So I hope I have not made this very complex. It is a bit complex, I know, and it is also difficult to explain the concept, but you have to understand what we are looking at is strength of moon, his placement at the right place. By virtue of there being only 4 benefics, one of which is already engaged, and moon needing to be with the Shubha, that is the benefic, there are only Jupiter or Mercury which are left. They will be aspecting the house ahead, strengthening that house, isn't it? So this way we go about it. We try to analyze what will be the strength of the yoga, and then you should predict whether he will be a king or a king to king. And king is also again a general term as far as I understand it, because in some places there is dictatorship, in some places there is democracy, and even within that there are different levels of people, and everybody's authority is different. But at a higher level, the wealth is there and some authority is always there. So whenever we talk about king, we should think about authority and wealth and ability to perhaps change laws. That is what is bhūpo. Bhūpatulyau is maybe his administrator, who is not exactly a king, but is not exactly poor, and that is how we should look at it. So I hope I have not made this too complicated. I know the concept is complicated. So if I have not been able to explain properly, you have to pardon me. And so, my dear friends, I take your leave and a very good night.